It's taking forever. Whew, here we are, another Thursday. It's the Ask Us Anything call. You've got myself. My name is Kurt. And then I've got Magic Emily Middleton with me. So we'll be here for the next hour or so. And you can ask questions. This whole thing is the Ask Us Anything show, right? So come prepared, bring something. Put your questions in the chat. Put more than that in the chat. Put in like, good morning, or dang, Emily, your hair looks good today. Or Kurt, did you shave your head this morning? Like, well, I don't care. Put whatever you want in the chat, as long as it's friendly. And then the other thing is, if you have not used LifterLMS yet, but you want to try it, and you're like, man, I don't know if the free version's enough, but I don't know if I want to spend money and then find out I don't like it, it doesn't meet your needs or whatever. No worries. Go to lifterlms.com/try. lifterlms.com/try. It's $1. It's $1. You get a 30-day hosted example of a website full of sample content. When you see Emily and myself doing screen shares on these websites all the time, and you see us like make changes for someone to answer a question, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, they're just ripping that website apart. It doesn't matter because it's a demo site. We can spool them up, we can kill them, we can do whatever we want. And we can do the same for you. We can give you a 30-day access to a demo site. You can go in, you can play, you can break things, you can do whatever you want with it. And at the end of the 30 days, it goes away. And then you can choose. You're like, hey, I've tried it, and now I want it. Or I've tried it, and it's not for me. But at least you're making an educated decision in that case. The other thing is, if you come to this little Ask Us Anything adventure, you get a 55% off coupon if you decide to make a purchase. And so that would be lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. And I really, really encourage you to use the coupon. Let's see. I think that nails it for me. I'm out of here. Emily, what are you going to do for the next hour?
I would probably just spool up a demo site and start demoing like how to convert more. Just drilling into making a homepage that works really easily. I've been encouraging a lot of my clients lately to put work and reworking into their sales pages for their courses, putting more work into their pricing page, and even encouraging them to do some custom CSS if they want to change some things. With accessibility and everything that I've been like diving into lately, there are some changes that you'd want to make to like the LifterLMS experience just to make it a little bit faster on the front end and the purchasing. I might just talk about that stuff.
Maybe. I had something interesting come up today, and I'm sure that you've had it come up before too. And I think I handled it well. I think I responded well. But we host a website for a client, and they emailed a message in, and it said, a friend of mine in one of my Facebook business groups was looking at my website for me, and they gave me a Google page speed report. And I was dreading that. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You're on a basic hosting program, right? You're on a reseller based hosting program. You've got a full blown CRM. You've got automations. You've got LifterLMS. You are asking me to add a shopping cart and reconfigure your shopping experience already, and you insist on having a video in your hero area that is a full-blown video, like not a GIF, GIF, whatever, right? But you want a full-blown video in there that auto plays and all that stuff. Okay, so want to be clear, I'm expecting. And it's been a while since I looked at it. So I'm thinking, oh, what is it? Like a 42, a 53? Like I'm like, what happened to the website? What I don't. So I pull up the link, and it's got a 77. And whoa, by the way, it was for mobile. They said it's slow on mobile. And I was like, slow on who even? It's a dynamic website, and you're like worried about how long it takes on mobile. So anyway, I pull it up, and 77 on mobile. And I'm like, I said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go ask artificial intelligence, right? The reasonable person in the room. Let's ask artificial intelligence what's the average mobile page speed score for a dynamic website using these tools? And it said somewhere between 50 and 70 would be considered average. And I was like, okay, point made. We're still above average. We're great. Then I went to desktop and the score was over 90. And I was like, I got nothing I'm going to offer on this. Like I'm not going to say, hey, let me do a full site audit for you and see what we can squeak out of this thing. To me, it's like we're not working on a Ferrari. We're still working on a Miata. Like we haven't invested in any additional PHP workers. We haven't thrown memory at this thing. We've used a lot of best practices, but the clients also added some plugins along the way. And it's like, if you're getting over a 90 on page speed on a dynamic website, leveraging all those tools, I don't think that's bad. What say you?
Um, I It depends on how much revenue the business is driving and whether they've tried to speed things up with hosting resources, like you said before. I always recommend the page speed insights thing. There's also Lighthouse, which you can use on your Google Chrome. Google acquired Lighthouse and integrated it into the developer tools, so everyone who uses Google Chrome can access these tools. Lighthouse runs tests in performance, accessibility, and a couple of other things, and Google, as it owns Lighthouse and uses this to grade your website, its bots are using that to grade your website when they come view it for SEO purposes. So I would recommend passing every single Lighthouse test with as close to 100 as you can. But it's also a good question of like, where are we at as a business?
Yeah.
Like our
You got 10 paying customers. This isn't a thriving enterprise to start throwing money at yet.
Yeah. Like if you have 10 paying customers, that might not be the first thing to do. I would consider this like 100 to 1,000 strategy, because like once you have 100 customers who've paid you at least for something, and it doesn't have to be a big payment. It could be something small like a $50 or $100 course. Once you're at about 100 people, you're going to need to rely on SEO for scale. When you make a change in your SEO that affects your sales that month by 3%, that's 3 sales. That's like $300. And if your price point's $100, and your lifetime value per customer, we also want to drive that metric up. So if we're doing a recurring membership site, which I always recommend, you're going to make more revenue off of customers. But let's assume that you're like not recurring revenue. Let's not think about all that stuff. Let's just say your average revenue per customer is $300. And with an SEO boost of 3% on top of your maybe 100 conversions that you get, we could see an increase of $1,000 or $900 just by making a change that affects our SEO. And so that's where you get a lot of leverage from using your page speed insights tools and your your performance tools. And the website I was working with accessibility, I was using a tool called Wave and the Lighthouse in Google Chrome, and just using my screen reader myself to test it. But they already have sales to an institution, and that institution emailed them and said, hey, if you want to continue to work with our institution, you need to meet accessibility, the web content accessibility guidelines at a 2.2 level. And so we had to make sure the website was up to par. And any institution, like a college, has to provide that level of accessibility. And so it was kind of a sign of success. Like we got into the college and we were able to test a semester with an individual class, and then a couple other teachers wanted to like work with the product, and then they're receiving traction. And now that they're like reaching the point where accessibility is a conflict that's being expressed, they're addressing it head on. And I recommend doing the same with your performance. Unless customers are complaining about how slow your website is, you don't need to address it. Like the speed optimization I did a couple weeks ago on like a big website, we rebuilt it from Elementor into blocks, sped up our site up so much, and it went so fast. It was literally same hosting. We started on like a 5, 6, 7 second homepage load. And then at the end, when we switched it to blocks, it was 0.7 or 0.5 of a second was what we were hitting. So it was like half a second to load the page. And but the customers were complaining. Sales were being impacted. They actually had the numbers to say like, our sales are down and our site is slower than ever. They were getting thousands of customers and they needed something.
If I go to a website and it's not pulling up a homepage fairly readily, or at least trying to, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you got that lazy load thing and you see something starting to happen. You go, okay, I got some patience here. But in my mind, I started doing this like back when I first got online with CompuServe. That's an old name you probably don't know, Emily. I got online with CompuServe and I was like, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. I got up to 1,000. I was looking at something else. I'm going to try to refresh the screen, or I'm going to go to another site or whatever. I don't. So does page speed cause sales loss? Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. But I think most Americans have a second and a half, 2 seconds before they hit the button and go, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a lot of emphasis put on page speed, not necessarily, and the grading is always going to be on some kind of a curve, right? So like if I'm building a, one of those long scroll, one page, light code marketing landing page websites, that's completely different than a dynamic property that's carrying courses and CRM tools and logins, logouts, and shopping carts and all that crap. I think people need to be super realistic about what they're hosting, what the purpose of their website is, and what their goals are, for the end solution. I think the idea that someone would go to a website and say, okay, design wise, I want lots of live video at full resolution. I want this, I want that, I want the other. And then when it's all done, go, oh, I wish it was faster. Because then it's like, well, it would be faster if we could go back to the original conversation, right? Take out the video, put in a GIF. Let's do this. Let's streamline. Let's subdomain a couple of these heavy hitting tools and put them on somewhere else so that your main page runs faster. But if the main goal was speed, that would have been the conversation. I don't think you can have the conversation on the "I want my cake and eat it too" scenario, unless you got a lot of money for hosting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be at $20 a month for hosting, you're not really going to be able to have a conversation about page speed and a highly dynamic site.
Right. Right. I think there are different problems, and I've expressed this for years, that, and I should find a better way to express it in the form of a course, but that there are different problems for businesses of different sizes. Like if we're going from at Lifter, I had to put together the framework of 0 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, and 1,000 to 10,000, of like 4 different brackets of paying customers that you have and what you should be doing to address growth in your business at that time. Because you're not going to be doing the same thing like Google paid ads that you might be doing when you're going from 1,000 to 10,000 that you would be doing when you're going from 0 to 10. And so defining these phases is really useful in addressing specifically the problems you have in the immediate to unlock revenue. It's useful information.
I agree. It's interesting because, and I guess this is a ask us anything question for people getting started. I get that, but there's people that do come here or watch the replay that are actually like, oh, I should have an agency someday. If you want to run an agency, these are the types of things that you kind of need to flesh out in your discovery phase. When I first got started building websites, people say, oh, I just need a website that does X, Y, and Z. And they would start out with, I just need, right? Because the just to them is how they're going to sow the seed for you to do it cheaper, right? And so then it becomes this, well, what's the minimal viable product that I can give this person and still collect my revenue that I need to get this done? But what happens is, as the product develops, that's when people all of a sudden have all these great ideas. And now you're kind of halfway through, right? So now you're like, well, we didn't discuss that. Oh, well, I assume that was included. No, it wasn't. That's a bad assumption. Now what am I going to do? I want my money back. Okay, I'll do it. Right. And that's when you're first starting out, those are like those weird, awkward things that happen. And so, when you meet with somebody, hey, Gary used to use CompuServe. He's old too. I like that. Shazam. There he goes. I've used CompuServe. Back when the internet first was available to us, Emily, it was a green screen with a blinking cursor. And that's all it did. And you signed it. You paid all the money. You brought your computer home. You set it all up. You were so excited. And then went, and then you signed in and nothing happened. And you went, this is amazing. I'm on the internet. Yeah, we didn't call it the internet then. We called it the World Wide Web. I'm on the World Wide Web. So, and it didn't do nothing. So, and Dell says she did too. Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. So, yeah, I think I'm done with my rant on the page speed question and on the agency thing. The performing a real needs assessment and finding out what people really want before you bid and before you touch the keyboard and start building something is so important. So, this client, by the way, folks, this project's 3 years old, right? The project's fine. Like, I'm not worried about that. It's just, it's interesting. Like, what someone's perspective is in 2026 is not going to be their same perspective in 2029. So if you keep that person as a customer, you have to know that, you have to have, keep your emails, keep your notes, keep your proposal copies, like, because 3 years goes down the road and then they go, oh, hey, I just noticed this thing. And you go, oh, hey, that wasn't part of the deal. It'll happen with SEO for sure, because Google keeps flipping the rules on SEO and people are losing traffic like crazy. And the first response a client makes, if they're not really knowledgeable, is that something's wrong with the website or something's wrong with the hosting. And they'll say, hey, we're not getting any traffic. Our leads are gone. And yeah, that's part, what have you done for search engine, for promotion, for, how have you been advertising your business, right? Like, the product works, the product's here, but how have you set it up? How have you, have you hired us for search engine optimization and I'm unaware of it? I thought you had this other third-party team working your search engine optimization. And the AI summaries that people see in search results now have cut, everyone argues about it, but something like 55% of the traffic to websites is gone, depending on what article you read. And so if you lose that much traffic to your website, how do you generate revenue from that same property, right? So I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's only going to get worse and more competitive. So we have to be really, really on top of things as we develop these projects for ourselves and for our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam. Gary says, I do prototyping. I do protyping. Now I'm lost. I don't know what protyping is. Do you know what protyping is, Emily?
Nope.
Okay. Good. That's where the www comes from. The World Wide Web. Welcome to the World Wide Web. I miss Flash. Do you remember Flash websites?
Yeah.
That you would open up a website with, yeah, that was cool. And yeah, we are getting old. Dell, I feel like I'm getting old. I keep referring to my age a lot lately. I need to settle down with that ageism. I'm marking myself. All right, you ready for a question from the internet?
I'm ready.
Ready for folks, by the way, if you have questions, put them in the chat. That's how the call stays alive. If you guys don't participate, I don't know, we'll either talk about something else or I'll go make myself another cup of coffee. Says from Martha, I'd like to accept both direct text and images in an assignment. How to do that? What are your thoughts, Emily? What would be your strategy? I'd be tempted to use a quiz instead of a assignment. Use the upload feature.
Yeah, there's also
and the
like
essay question. Sorry.
No, that's good. I think like you said, like the long answer question type plus a upload question. The challenge is that you can't really complete the assignment unless you both upload and submit a long answer, or complete the quiz rather. Should be very specific with the language. A quiz in LifterLMS could have two questions on it. You know, one's asking for an upload and one's asking for long text to be entered into it. Whereas an assignment, right, you have to choose essay or upload. And so it's annoying because you can't have the student choose. And if you were to do a quiz, they would have to both enter text and upload something. So
Or
I
break
would
it into two assignments.
right. I might even, the smoothest user experience that I can think of, just I've never thought of this problem before, just off the top of my head, would be to use a forms plugin because they can do conditional logic. And they can offer uploads for you. But if it's a graded thing, then you have to use LifterLMS's system if you're requiring LifterLMS for the LMS reporting. So Marta, you've come up with a very complicated situation. Um, I I would, you could also just do an upload regardless and say like upload something, and you could upload a little PDF with text or a note with text or like a TXT file or a docs file. You could upload any of those things or upload an image. That
They,
might be
they,
the easiest.
the student can make a Word doc with the text and an embedded picture and upload it.
Yeah.
Like that's completely doable. But then comes my users don't know how to make a Word doc with text and pictures on it and load it up. Like it's almost like you need to create a tutorial that shows people how to do what we consider simple things. That's one of the hardest parts about teaching, any kind of teaching, not just online teaching, any kind of teaching, is a lot of people, I think Chris referred to it as the expert's curse at some level, right? But it's, you come into a situation, you assume that your students, are already at a base level of knowledge, right? That they have a base level of being able to do stuff. And so you start trying to take them from here to here. So you start here and you're like, okay, we're going to run through this course, blah, 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 and you think you're raising them up here. And I find a lot of reasons why learning in general, not just e-learning, but why learning fails is because that assumption is completely wrong. You're a subject matter expert and you have more knowledge than you give yourself credit for. And the people that need the education are really still down here in all the basics of knowledge that you're trying to offer. And so if you start your training from this perspective, assuming that they know things and that you're going to lift them up, a lot of times they get lost in here because they don't have this skill set that's below that bar. And so when we create learning online and we're virtual, we have more of a handicap, because if you're in person, if I'm doing a live workshop somewhere and I've got someone in class, I can recognize through interaction that they're not here. I can recognize, oh, this cat's way down here. I got to figure this out. I got to do something to get this person to here, right? So that they can keep up with the rest of the class. Realistically, virtually, we don't see that interaction, right? And so we have to assume that when people come into our periphery, that they're here. And so whenever you want them to do something extra in a website, you've got to say, click here for a tutorial and have a quick screen share video that says, this is how you make a Word doc with text and images, right? This is how you upload something. This is how you, and it sounds crazy, but the projects that coach people through the process have a higher percentage of completion than people that assume that students know how things work. I still like the idea of, instead of an assignment, have a 2-question quiz. One asks for an essay, one asks for the upload. You get a notification that they've completed the quiz. You can grade the quiz because those are gradable questions. And then just like you would grade the assignment, and it stores all the records in the LifterLMS reporting for certification's sake or anything like that.
Yeah.
The podcast that I was just on ran right up to the minute, Emily, and I had planned, because it's such a beautiful day here in Kansas, I had planned on taking the MacBook outside and doing this episode outside. And here I am in my dark room, and it's beautiful outside.
Yeah.
By the time we do office hours, I intend to be outside because it should be about 70 degrees when we do office hours. It's only 62 or 63 right now. But it's beautiful. And the yard's full of birds. My backyard is full of birds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
It
love
was
doing
almost
meetings from
annoying yesterday.
outside.
They were so loud. It sounded like a horror movie. What were you going to say?
Oh, I'm pretty used to just picking up my computer and going outside, as you know, for all our calls.
Yeah. Yeah. For this, I want to get closer and closer to that kind of freedom being it because I've got Wi-Fi wired in all over that property. So I can go anywhere on the property. I'm gonna connect. So I should enjoy it more. I mean, I put a lot of effort into making this room look a certain way, but it's nice to get outside too.
Yeah.
Once I get my container delivered this year, I'm gonna be over the moon because then I'll have like a cool place to hang out.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I bought a 44-inch flat grill to go into it. Right? So like that's as big as the desk I'm sitting at. Like bam. Be awesome. It's still in the box. I didn't even put it together. I didn't want to put it together and then put it outside in the weather and have it get ruined. So I just left it in the box. It was on a wicked sale. It was $150 off. And so I was like, I'm going to save the money and buy it right now. And I threw it in the shed. But when the container comes, we're going to build the smoker, put up the flat grill, have a prep counter, and move one of my refrigerators in there. So I'll have all my cooking prep stuff out back in my outdoor kitchen instead of always running back and forth in and out of the house to try and cook.
Yeah.
I
That's
did
awesome.
pork roast for the neighbors this week.
That's cool.
Carne asada. It was very good. Smoked in cherry. It was very lovely. All right, let's see where we're at. Prototyping. Oh, here we go. Dell's got a comment. One of the things I've learned in my experience working with computing as well as in teaching people is that we should never assume that people know. Yeah, that's exactly my point, Dell. We can never assume that somebody knows something. I've already shared the story before, but when I was the North American training manager for Ducati North America, we had come out with this like really involved diagnostic course on how to diagnose the electrical systems on motorcycles. And I was nervous about the class because the first class I taught was all like master technicians. And I was like, oh, they're going to think I'm a moron because they're master technicians. And so I worked really hard on my presentation. I tried to make everything top shelf. The curriculum was amazing. The people in Italy helped me put that together. So it was solid, right? Like the information came straight from the factory. Like it was a really, really good course. And I got everybody together in the room. We started doing the classroom session for the first half of the day, and everybody was nodding and yeah, writing notes down, and everything was going really swimmingly. I thought, man, this is going surprisingly well. Like nobody's really arguing with me about the content. Usually technicians argue when you try to teach them in person because, we're in the field. We know what we're doing. You can't tell us nothing. But there wasn't a lot of arguing with this one. Everyone's just nodding and telling, yeah. So we went into the shop. And I didn't want to do the work myself. I'm being blunt and honest. I'm like, these guys are mechanics. They work with stuff every day. I don't want to act like I'm going to diagnose this motorcycle in front of them using these tools, right? I'm going to be more clumsy with the tools than they are. They should know the tools, right? So I was like, hey, I need a volunteer to check the voltage on this CAN high line. It's part of the wiring harness. And he completely did it wrong. He put one probe in the wire and one probe in the battery. So I know that people listening don't care about how cars work or how motorcycles work, but basically he was testing a 2-volt line with a 13-volt battery, right? So if you think about that, right, I'm gonna put in 6 times as much voltage into this wire as supposed to be in it, right? So and he goes, it's got voltage, it must be good. And everybody in the room went like this. Oh yeah. And I was like, but it was wrong. And I said, well, how about the CAN low line? He did the same thing. Go, oh yeah. And I was like, all right, well, let's look at this circuit. And same thing. And I thought, well, if the motorcycle catches fire, that's okay. It doesn't belong to a customer. It belongs to the factory, right? It's a piece of testing equipment. So if we burn it to the ground, we burn it to the ground. Let's just see what happens. And so I tested everybody in the room. for about an hour. And I took everybody back to the classroom and I said, everything we just did in the shop, you guys need to forget about that because it was all 100% completely wrong. Not a single one of you seems to understand how a multimeter works. And that's the very most basic thing to consider before diagnosing anything electrically, is like knowing how the stinking tool works. And so that was the biggest, most jarring wake up call I ever had, Emily, because there I was on the spot, 12 master technicians. I'm supposed to be teaching them a skill that they're supposed to be certified in, go into the field and work on customers' motorcycles with, and they don't even know how the tools work. And so I had to like re-engineer the class over lunchtime, and then after lunch, kind of like really quickly get people up to speed and then re-deliver the morning content. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. We got it all done in the end, but it was a hot mess. And that was my biggest lesson in people don't know what they don't know. They make a lot of assumptions. And then when the proof is in the pudding, there's no pudding. I don't know how to say that any other way. Dell says exactly, Kurt. Duh, exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. Corporate training and doing stuff on the fly live with the live audience, that's really taught me a lot about curriculum development and how to backfill information for people in these virtual environments and stuff. So if I can encourage anyone that's watching the replay on this, if you're building something and you add complexity to it, and I know that people that get into this never think about complex issues. Sarcasm. When you add complexity, when you try to get fancy and you add complexity, it's very, very important that you also create a tutorial or a walkthrough for your people, because they will get lost. And when they get lost, they sign out and they don't come back.
Yeah. Yeah. UX design is something to definitely give a lot of attention to.
Or not, based on the link we looked at last week.
Yeah, well, honestly, the great point of that UX was that it was super clear. There was no confusion on where you were supposed to go, other than that their navigation item. It looks like a website built by someone who doesn't know how to build a website, but they're generating revenue. They literally had like a YouTube video embedded on the homepage, left aligned, just white background, plenty of white space. And
Plenty
then
of white space.
a paragraph of text below the video. In the paragraph were hyperlinks to the purchase page.
It says, buy my stuff.
It said,
And
like, buy
people
my
do.
stuff.
And people do.
People do. And I honestly think that website was a brilliant lesson in web design, of being like, you know what? They had a simple call to action and a simple video. Sometimes simple beats the overcomplication that we try to install. Now, I think that there was probably something to do with like there is a lot of professionalism and a lot of like professionalism. It's like not a pastiche, but parody going on. It's like professionalism is almost cringe or unapproachable or untrustworthy now. Like scrolling around on LinkedIn, it gives me the ick, because it's like, these are 10 AI tools new AI tools you need to adopt today. It's like, thanks. I want to send a thanks to the company that just laid me off. It's like this, this like type of, the website we were looking at was the opposite of that. It was very clearly made by a dude who barely knows how to use the technology, and is clearly not like a front, because he's just a dude. And there is something about installing his personal brand in his terribly designed navigation menu that has an element of charm and instant trust to it. Like, and I'm looking at that curiously now and being like, you know what, maybe there's something to that website.
Well, I've got another, apples to apples, oranges to oranges comparison in the same vein. And this is weird because, as an agency, these are the things I look at and I consider. right? So I have two customers that are in the same vertical. All right. One of them, established, national name, national brand, lots of users. Um, Helped them out with they had a pre-existing website, and I helped them out with a lot of stuff, and they had SCORM content. So that's why I got involved in this project. They had SCORM content they had to put in their existing LifterLMS website. Again, national brand, huge name recognition, lots of users, really bad content, really bad design. Like, picture the LifterLMS course catalog with no design around it at all. Just three squares and a menu at the top of the page, right? I mean, that's basically it. The write up on the front, bad images, bad pictures. And I should stress that this vertical that they're in is very much centered around attractiveness. Okay. And then I have another client who's like a startup in this space, even though they've got work outside the virtual world, but they're a startup in the virtual side of this, right? Beautiful website, beautiful content, uh, amazing content as far as work goes. So in this vertical, my startup customer is carrying this much information on the subject. The national name brand is carrying this much content on the subject, right? It's like night and day, the quality of the content and the user experience and the appearance and everything is so much better for the newer person, right? But I keep seeing the traffic and the conversion come through on that other website, even though it's ugly, has very limited content, and the call to action isn't even very strong, right? And so you can ask yourself, well, maybe it's that national name brand recognition. Maybe it's just that. You know, there's still some people out there that think Schwinn is a good bicycle, right? There's old people like me that go, oh, I always wanted a Schwinn. Well, if you bought a Schwinn now, that's like your that's like the fast pass to go to the ER, right? Never ride a Schwinn on a mountain trail. But back in the day, Schwinn was the bomb giggity, right? And so I wonder, because it's an absolute polar difference in how these two projects perform. And I know that they're on similar hosting, not the same hosting, but they're on similar hosting. One is beautiful, one is ugly. One has great content, one has marginal content at best. And you can see the difference. And you can look at the traffic that comes. And I'm going to be even more transparent, without giving away the names. I can look at the traffic that goes to both websites. And on a percentage of conversion, the ugly site is actually still converting at a higher ratio than the pretty site. It's a very strange deal because by all marks, Emily, by all marks in the way that you and I address projects, we've hit the mark really well, but we're still not seeing the results that we'd like to see.
Yeah.
And the ugly site, for unknown reasons, is continuing to do well.
Right. It's definitely, you don't want to build a website that's the Schwinn of websites. Not anymore.
You don't want to build the Schwinn of websites.
There's a lot that goes into a business's success, right? Like, there's like positioning. That's like the largest one. Like, is your offer right for the market at this point in time? And I know that me and Kurt have talked about before what happens when you launch a product into an ecosystem too early. Maybe you have a good offer, maybe it's a good audience, but maybe it's not the right time. There are multiple phases in the customer journey. There's 4 of them. Chris talks about them a lot, but it's unaware, problem aware, solution aware, and product aware. These are states of awareness that your market could be in about the problem that your website solves. And so how well you communicate your solution is obviously a good thing to think about, but you also want to think about what level of awareness the people who are reading your solution are communicating to. So if you say, well, obviously you need a solution for your, whatever, let's say you're a chiropractor and you're trying to sell chiropractors on taking your continuing education program because it teaches them about how to sell via Medicare, something like that. If the chiropractors don't even know the solution is possible, that they could make more money by changing their services to work within the Medicare guidelines, because like chiropractics is technically not like at the same level of care as a requirement. So you're basically selling them on a new approach, which is like using Medicare as a sales tactic to gain new clientele. It's continuing education, but it like improves their business. But you're selling them on the idea that they both need to improve their business and that what you have is a way to do so. This sales pitch is really good to give to people who are solution aware. But if they're not solution aware, you're selling them a solution to a problem that they don't know they have. And so you might need to take a step back and look at the problem aware audience that you may actually be talking to and discussing with them what exactly their problem is and how they can grow from where their problem is currently at. So it's like, hey, are you frustrated with not having enough new clientele? Are you frustrated with feeling annoyed by like not having a lot of customer inquiries, not being able to take their insurance? Are you frustrated by, we're dealing with them at the problem level rather than the solution level, and that can open up the door for selling more. That is just an example, but we just want to think about those things, like what level of awareness is our audience at and how are we selling to them? Because the market, you may have a good offer, it may be good value. It may be even pitched to the right people who would benefit from taking the product. But if you don't bridge that gap in communication between what their level of awareness is and how you're speaking to their problem, you might miss out on a good deal of sales and potentially a business entirely. What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, well, you're nailing so many points, and it's again, our agency wasn't hired to fix some of these things, right? But I see some of these things, and I do communicate with the clients. I'm like, hey, you haven't changed the headline on the homepage in 2.5 years. You might want to try some new words there. We might want to. You're not really addressing a problem that you're fixing. You're really just trying to brag and say, check out our new course. Well, that's not. There's no motion in that. Check out our new course. There's no motion there. It should be, how can you grow XYZ? How can, what makes this problem easier to solve? And then call to action to go see that, right? And so I'm like, hey, you could try some different words in your headings. Try changing the label on your call to action button. And it sounds really stupid, but like Adam Pricer does some content on this because he talks about, when he does stuff for short form and stuff like that, he'll talk about conversion on, the button's blue, the button's gray, the button's orange, it's blue with an orange trim. It's like, and it sounds silly, but you try these different things and your conversion rates change. And so I think it's important that people don't set and forget. I think it's important that people constantly review and try different things to see if they can swing that bar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's when you were saying the awareness issues, so many people get hung up in I probably should look at something. I should probably look at something. And they can be in that phase for a long time. They can look at that phase before they make a purchase decision. The problem is, how do you stay in touch with those people once you've identified that they're looking or considering it and making a purchase decision? Because your product might have got them thinking about it, but if you don't stay in touch with them or find a way to keep that connection, they might go somewhere else for the fulfillment.
Yeah, totally. And there are a lot of touch points that you usually have to make with a customer before they're willing to make a sale. I remember research from a long time ago said 8. That number is probably outdated by now, but we can still use it as a useful example. Has your customer had 8 interactions with your product before asking for the sale?
Yeah.
Is it like an interaction? Doesn't have to be much. It could be seeing one of your social media posts. It could be watching one of your podcasts for 2 minutes. It could be looking at your sales page one time or clicking follow on social media. All these things count as an interaction. And when you get to about 8 of them, you usually have enough trust where people would be willing to invest with you.
The more expensive your product is, the longer the pipeline is as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did I talk to you about the podcast episodes I put out last week? I don't know if I did.
I don't
Told you I
think
met
so.
with a sales consultant, interviewed a sales consultant.
I don't recall. I remember the guy who was really nice, but he was from
Yeah, that's the
something
guy from
WP.
Influence WP. Ryan Logan was on the show, and he is unbelievably pleasant. Like so pleasant that I'm completely won over now. Like that guy they could have a video of him kicking a dog, and I'd be like, I don't believe it. He was just really, really sweet. I interviewed Katie Nelson directly after Ryan, and I don't know if I talked to you about Katie. Katie is she has a catchphrase called "all love, no bullshit." She's a sales catalyst specialist. She's a sales consultant, and instantly, as soon as her and I connected on the screen to make the podcast, it was just like an instant uh I would like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants or something, right? I mean, it was like we just boom, like we meshed on a lot of things. And after the call, she was blunt, and she wasn't trying to like become my coach or anything like that. We were just having a conversation. And she goes, well, let's just cut the brass tacks, Kurt. Like, what's your top line revenue for 2026? What was your top line revenue for 2025? And I threw a number at her, and she goes, that doesn't sound right. You just said you had this product you sold for $45,000. I'm like, oh, that's a different vertical. And she's like, no, we're not having a conversation about verticals. We're having a conversation about revenue. And it was really eye-opening to have a direct conversation with somebody that is so focused in that space, because I do have that training product that's $45,000 for a year's worth of training for a dealership. We train everybody in the dealership for 45 grand. But we don't hit that product a lot. We don't sell that a lot. And looking at it now, I'm like, I should probably be selling the crud out of that. I should probably be selling. I shouldn't even be doing these shows anymore. I should just be on the phone calling dealers, selling that training. But it was really eye-opening to talk to somebody that's so focused in that space and has that, she sold over $150 million of goods and services and all these things, right? She's worked here, she's worked there, she's got all these credentials, and very direct and very focused. It was a fun interview. If you're interested, you should go check out the Mañana No Mas podcast and look for the one with Katie Nelson. She was kind of funny.
Nice.
Now, what do you want to do? We've got 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I think we could talk about conversion channels. I love to talk about conversion channels. It's nesting time for the birds. We have them here too. My sister has built a bird sanctuary in her yard, so the cacophony is quite interesting.
Yeah, she's probably got a whole menagerie there. So you call it conversion what? Conversion
channels.
What's conversion channels? Because I started using Conversion Bridge recently.
What is Conversion Bridge?
Conversion Bridge is made by the same genius that made Confetti that you and I both like, Derek Ashauer. I interviewed Derek for my podcast, and we had a discussion. And then afterwards, I said, I'd like to try that Conversion Bridge. So that's like his number one product, I think, is Conversion Bridge. And it integrates with LifterLMS. It integrates with just about every stats analytics package, and it will track multiple things in your website. So it'll tell you, it'll say like how many people submitted this, how many people looked at this form, how many people clicked on this form, how many people submitted this form, how many people clicked on this product, what were the variations of the product they clicked on, did they make a purchase, did they abandon the cart, did they, and it just goes through. I mean, it just gives you a detailed, like almost like a database heat map of how people are using your website. And um, so I got a copy of that and I put it on the Manana No Mas website. And I've been looking at it, and it's interesting because, pardon me, things that aren't measured can't be improved. That's like a theory in business, right? If you don't measure it, how can you improve it? And so that's one of the things I teach when I train dealerships how to increase their business. And so I was like, you know what? I'm really not tracking this kind of stuff. Like I was seeing like, oh, I got some spam in my, contact form, but I wasn't like really tracking activity on the site. And then it's kind of like looking at your analytics in YouTube. If you don't look at your analytics in YouTube, your YouTube doesn't really seem to grow. When you start paying attention to it, all of a sudden things seem to mobilize, right? So I appreciate the product, but now you mentioned a different one. So what's that one?
Oh,
Conversion channels.
what I mentioned isn't a product.
Oh, I
Um,
thought you were talking about a tool.
no, conversion channels as a concept. Like, who do we have email? Do we have specific social media channels? Like, where are we at on the internet that's driving business and ultimately conversions to our website? Just thinking about that.
All right. Well, I'll do a quick screen share here at the risk of being overly personal, but dashboard. Okay. This I'm playing with. Have you seen this dashboard before?
Um, yeah.
The Imran Sadiq put this out from Web Squadron, and I thought, well, I'll try this. So I basically, instead of using this menu over here, I just clean this up, and I don't have all that crap over here on my dashboard, right? But if I go down to Tools and Settings and go to Conversion Bridge, it's going to open up my Conversion Bridge, and I've got it set up just to look at Google Analytics, and I think I had it with Independent Analytics as well. And then I can go and take a look at integrations. So anything that I want to integrate that's already pre-built is here. So I've already turned a lot of this on, right? My core WordPress, my Fluent CRM, my forms, my cart, my community, my LifterLMS, my media. And so if someone like watches a video, it comes up in a customer's journey, and you can see in the journey here what people are looking at. These are my most recent ones. So a form submission, they played these videos, and you can do it by date, you can do it by type, you can do it by whatever you want. You can create custom events, which I haven't done because I haven't put that much time into figuring it out yet. And then there's options, tools, and of course the license, which I'm not going to share on a live screen share. But the conversion bridge idea is really interesting from an agency perspective, because my site has the master conversion bridge on it. And then I can put conversion bridge on client websites, and then I can offer them conversion bridge reporting on a weekly or monthly basis, because it kind of works like a main WP kind of setup.
Mhm.
So then you can offer conversion reporting to your clients as an agency, which is an interesting proposition. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. I think it's $500 or $600 to get like 25 or 30 websites access or something like that. You'd have to go to the Conversion Bridge website, because now I'm just making up numbers. But Derek's a super solid guy, and he builds smart things. And it's interesting because I am just scratching the surface here. He is like, he's deep in the weeds, right? If you've got a website with a couple hundred users and you've got decent traffic, this thing breaks out and can give you graphs of like, where are people filling out? Are people watching these videos? Are they looking at these pictures? Are they going to these blog posts? Are they clicking on forms but not filling them out? Are they filling out forms? Are they looking at products? You can look at everything, and which is a pretty cool thing to see what's going on inside your site.
Mhm.
Gary Alderson says, with Fluent Cart, what are the good reasons for going pro? Well, the number one reason for going pro, Mr. Alderson, sounds like The Matrix, Mr. Anderson. Okay. Do you know the Matrix?
I do.
Okay. Starting to wonder how young you really were. Does he know the Matrix? So anyway, the number one reason for going with Fluent Cart Pro, Gary, is because it automatically integrates with Lifter LMS. Like be all end all. Like if I didn't have a Lifter website, I probably wouldn't really care about going pro or going free, to be honest with you. But when you have Lifter LMS, and especially if you have like more than one product in Lifter LMS, Fluent Cart. Oh, not Fluent Cart Pro. I was thinking of Fluent CRM Pro. I'm sorry. I'm completely sorry. Fluent CRM Pro has the integration with Lifter LMS directly, automatically. And so all those automations that I want to do work out really well right there. Fluent Cart and Fluent Cart Pro, I'm not, if I had Fluent CRM Pro, I'm not sure there would be any advantage to going with Fluent Cart Pro. Just to be blunt, I don't think you need to. Because you would use the Fluent CRM Pro to do any kind of automations like, add tags, add, change user roles, add someone to a course, take someone out of a course, put them in a membership, take them out of a membership. I do all that with the Fluent CRM Pro, and I just use the cart really as the cash register.
Yeah.
We did make some content for Fluent Cart Pro, though, on the Lifter LMS YouTube channel. So I would recommend taking a look at that because we do a full-blown like walkthrough on installing it and using it, and the integration with Fluent Cart Pro with Lifter LMS. It automatically connects to existing courses in the cart so that you don't have to set up weird links and stuff to make things happen.
I haven't played with Fluent Cart much. Do they offer like upsells and stuff like that?
Upsells and downsells, you can. One thing that's really cool about it is I could add like downloads to course cells. So let's say that someone buys a course and I want to send them a PDF handbook. That's automated. It's almost like easy digital downloads, and the Lifter LMS Access Plan are glued together. So they would get the enrollment and an email that says, click here to download your handbook, all in one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
With Fluent Cart Pro, the integration with Lifter is also automatic. So if you weren't going to use a CRM, I could see why you'd want the Fluent Cart Pro. See, that's the weird part about WordPress is, 19 ways to do things, right? If I wasn't going to use the CRM, I would use the Fluent Cart Lifter and would automate the enrollment and the unenrollment of people into courses or memberships based on their purchase. But it's very important to note the WooCommerce integration with Lifter LMS attaches to the access plan of each product, and the SureCart and the Fluent Cart examples of shopping carts, those connect to the actual product, not the access plans. So when I sell something through Fluent Cart, it's giving someone access to a course. It's access to the course. It's not access to the access plan. And that's a pretty noticeable discernment to make. And you'll understand that in the workflow. You're not connecting to an access plan. You're just connecting to the product. And so if you're someone that's created 5 versions of a course and what's included with that course, and each access plan does something different with different expiration dates and all of that, you got to kind of figure out how you're going to manage that in Fluent Cart, because you're not connecting the access plans. The purchase in the cart is just giving them access to that course or membership. All right. Thanks. Like both products. Yeah, I love both products. I really do. Gary, I get access to both. And so when you say, what's the advantage? From my perspective, the advantage is I got the crap. I'm just going to plug it in. And sometimes I forget, like, oh, what was the difference between free and pro? The pro automatically integrates with Lifter, and I build a lot of Lifter sites, so it's access to the products. But if I already had Fluent CRM Pro, because the Fluent CRM tool was out long before the cart was, right? So if I already had Fluent CRM Pro, I would build my automations through the CRM and not suffer another subscription cost if it were me. but that's just, there's always ways to work around things. It's really helpful for about WooCommerce and Fluent Cart. Yeah. Hey, where can I join? I don't know what we're joining. For YouTube, you can subscribe. So if you're on YouTube right now, because I see the @ and then you're from YouTube, just click subscribe and you'll see us. We come live every week on Thursday for the Ask Us Anything call. And of course, we've got podcasts and all kinds of things that come up on our YouTube channel. So that would be a good thing. All right. And nobody joins the video call, because that's the next question. Nobody joins the video call. We used to do this on Zoom, and well, people ruined that. So now we can't do it on Zoom anymore. Folks, that wraps up the hour. We're actually in overtime, which is really kind of surprising. Folks, have yourselves an absolutely wonderful week. I just want to hit you one more time with the coupon code. It is lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. That'll get you 55% off on anything that you choose to do. And if you wanted to just try it, just go to lifterlms.com/try. That's it for me. My name is Kurt, my wonderful co-host, Emily Middleton. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.